We're back at training camp once again, and it is our pleasure for the second year in a row here in the basement in the radio studio. We always appreciate the Bears rolling out the red carpet for us to bring in the quarterback, Caleb Williams, as he joins Waddle and Sylvie. We had a nice little chat before going on the air, and you told me you feel much more adjusted than this time last year when we spoke.
Yep, absolutely. I've been able to go through a year of playing and being out there, and then also just learning, kind of what the NFL is like, the long year, and also just learning more about offenses and defenses. And so, when I'm able to go out there now, it's more, obviously it's still a new system and I'm still learning those things and grasping those things, but I think it's happening at a faster rate than it was last year.
People, I don't think, really realize how difficult it is to learn 3 systems in 3 years. So can you kind of put that into perspective for the average fan who probably doesn't even acknowledge that?
Yeah, it's like, for instance, it's like, you work a job, and then, you have to, you either get promoted and you have to learn a new position. And it's like you get promoted again, you have to learn a new position. So, and you just keep, you have to constantly upgrade also with each year, and with each promotion. That's kind of how it is with, playing QB.
How is the relationship with Ben Johnson? I know he was a guy that you had your eye on when he was available. Waddle and I were all in. We're like, go get Ben Johnson. I'm impressed, but I'm usually very impressed at this time of the year.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what is the relationship like, and how has it been so far with him?
Yeah, it's been great. He's been awesome. He's been a great teacher, and he's been a great coach. And so with those two things, when it's time to teach, he's teaching, and he's hard on me. He's tough on me on the field, and then off the field, it's more learning, it's more teaching, it's more trying to figure out exactly, what we want to get at, and what he wants, when we're out there and when he calls to play. And then, other than that, being a great coach also comes from, me going up there and, sitting down, having talks with him, and not just me, it's also other players, him going to the other rooms and, cracking jokes and, being personable when it's off the field and, still having that discipline, but also, when we get on the field and when we're in the meeting rooms and things like that, it's, it's time to lock in and go.
Can you talk about the accountability factor and about a quarterback like you wanting to be coached? And tell me if that's true or not, because that's what we always assume, that great players want to be coached and they don't mind the constructive criticism.
Yeah, absolutely. No, obviously the great players and things like that want to be coached, and I want to be coached. I want to be coached hard, because it also adds a sense of accountability for me, but also for everybody else, that nobody's bigger than anybody on this team. That 53, man roster is, everybody's just as important. So that's huge. And that's really important. And we got to keep going. Like I said, and, in some other interviews and things like that, Ben has set the standard in OTAs, and obviously, we have to uphold it as players. We know what it is, we know what we have to do, and we know how we have to go out there and execute.
And Ben doesn't seem to play favorites. If you make a mistake, he's going to chew your ass out, regardless of where you're at on the 53-man roster.
Regardless of where you are, Ben's going to chew you out and hold you accountable, because, like I said, everybody matters. Everybody's job is important. And, like today, we were out there and, we were marching down the field, and then, the headset started going out on me, and I got kind of frustrated. And Ben came over to me after, and, he was like, have a few plays in mind, if that ever happens. And, that's more of accountability to me and to this team, and having a few plays that, if the clock's running down, the headset goes out, or, it's spiking or something, you can't hear the play call. It's have a few plays, go out there and, don't go palms up and, complain and things like that. Keep going.
And it seems like with the story you told us about how he goes and he checks in on everyone, he cracks jokes, that the range of what he can give you, he can be the guy, like Waddle said, who can chew your ass out, but it seems like he's about building relationships too.
Yep, absolutely. No, I could speak from mine, and then also just watching, him with other quarterbacks, or, the other, wide receivers or DBs, or, linebackers and things like that, special teams guys. He's like I said, he's been personable. It's been awesome. Seeing him around the facility, on the field, like I said, holding people accountable. And then when you get into the, around the facility, and he's cracking jokes with you, he's bumping into you, making jokes and things like that, just like I said, just being personal with everybody.
8 practices in, how would you say you feel about what you've done? And what's the hardest part about learning Ben's offense as a quarterback?
The hardest part is all the details and then having to go out there and know every single detail, because every single detail matters. For the wide receivers, their alignment, making sure they're, if it's an inside edge of the numbers, they need to be inside edge because of spacing and timing for my footwork and things like that matter. Making sure my footwork is on point, making sure that, where I want to put the ball is where the ball is going to be. For the offensive line, it's squeezing if we get blitz, or it's going out if we get blitz. It's just knowing all the details, and then at that point, we keep repping it, and we want to focus on becoming masters of it. And that doesn't happen in a day, and that definitely doesn't happen in 8 days.
How important is the footwork and the mechanics with regard to what ultimately will be your completion percentage, which is something that Ben has talked about?
Yeah, it's huge, because the footwork helps with my eyes. The footwork helps with the timing, all of that. So it's like, I get to the back of my drop and it's boom, I'm throwing this dagger. Or it's like, I get to the back of my drop and I hitch twice. It's like, get off the dagger.
Yeah.
And get down to the next read and, find a completion instead of trying to go make a big play.
Pressure. Do you feel pressure?
Nah.
No, because
Nah.
we what we do, Caleb. We sit here on shows and we're like, who's got the most pressure on the Bears? Who's got the most pressure in the NFL? And inevitably, we mention you. You were the number 1 overall pick, new coach into the second year. We know with the way the Commanders played last year, so you don't feel that pressure.
Nah. Pressure isn't what I'm at and where I'm at in my life. Got a great family, got a great situation, great teammates. I don't necessarily have to, wake up and, try and fight for that meal. That's pressure. You know what I mean? So it's, I'm going out here and I'm learning football, doing something I love, with the people I love, and, making sure I'm taking care of the people I love back home. So pressure's not a thing for me. I don't, think of life that way, in the situation that I'm in. And so, we keep chugging along, and, there's going to be ups and downs, and it's not my job to care about what the outside, noise is and things like that. My job is to take care of everything in here and go out there and play. And I didn't, I know we didn't win as many, games as we wanted to last year, but, I didn't go 20 and 20 in interceptions and things like that. So, take it for what you want, but, pressure is a privilege, but in the situation that I'm at, I don't think I have pressure.
I know that you jot down some of the noise out there.
Absolutely.
Like you ignore the noise, but yet it seems like you're a guy who jots down the noise. So when people bring up work ethic, describe your work ethic.
Yeah.
And does it piss you off if you hear someone say Caleb may not be working as hard as he should?
Does it piss me off? No. Do I write it down and remember it for, when that time comes to, when we're winning, and when we win, and, I get to, see their face and smile in their face, for how much work that I've put in, how much, time and effort that I'm putting in here, with these guys, being around these guys. And, the time and effort doesn't only mean, being here and being, in the facility for 15 hours, like, we are right now, and getting up at, 5 a.m. Putting in the time is also, having these team dinners, having these things like that, because that goes a long way also.
There's a lot of talk about this is going to take some time because it's a new system and new offense. Do you expect things to click internally sooner than maybe those on the outside expect things to click for you?
Yeah, I don't necessarily put an expectation on it, but like we know, it is a race.
Yeah.
We are racing towards, I believe it's September 8th. I believe the first game is September 8th, 8 p.m. Here in Chicago. So we're racing towards that. We're trying to get it. We're trying to click. We're trying to make sure that we're on top of our game, to be able to make sure that, when we go out there, our first game, that, we walk out, with a good taste in our mouth, and that we're 1-0. But you can't just, wake up and be like, all right, here we go. It's a process that we have to go through. And right now we're in the process, and it's day 8.
When you step into the huddle these days and you see Joe Tooney and you see Drew Dahlman and you see
cool,
Jonah
right?
Jackson, do you feel safer?
It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
Cool.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. I got a bunch of good guys in there, protecting me, working their tail off, and it's been fun. Today we got the defense to jump off sides, and it's always good when you see those guys turn around. They're happy, in those moments. They're happy, slap hands and things like that after we just make those guys jump off sides and, you know, make a big play. So
when Joe
it's
looks at
awesome.
you and nods, that's
When Joe-
you
when
know
Joe-
you've made you made a good
I
play.
believe, what is this, year
100,
14
whatever
for
it
him or
is.
something like that. You know, it's you know, it's pretty awesome when you can have that moment with them. Put a little. I don't really smile too much in practice when, you know, when we're in their moment, but when you have that moment with those guys and, you know, those big guys turn around, you know, in those moments, you know, I had a little smile on my face. You know, it makes you feel good.
Before we let you go, Tyler, you could pipe in too. I think we have a bite I wanted to play for you from PCA.
Okay.
And because it seems,
my gosh.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Tyler, can you play this for Caleb?
I'm very impressed by other athletes. You know, I think that's something that a lot of us share. Caleb's a good dude, though. Like, I think that he's just going to be really good for the sport of football as it goes on. But we don't have as much of a relationship as I think that we will have at one point, or at some point. But nah, we've definitely, you know, got the start of something, and I think we definitely plan on linking up a little bit more as the year goes on. But I'm definitely looking forward to going and watching him play this off season. I'll definitely be pulling up to a lot of games, and yeah, I mean, I'm a big football fan. I'm a big basketball fan. So, and I'm getting to be more and more of a hockey fan too. But I'm just looking forward to, you know, going and supporting my fellow Chicago athletes, you know, who also bust their tails every day to go do it for our city. So Caleb's the man, and I'm looking forward to, you know, obviously developing something further.
I asked him that when he was on with us last week, that this relationship, it seems like you had your bobblehead of PCA.
Yeah.
You're with Modus.
Absolutely.
There's a picture of you and Modus. He's out here the other day. What does this mean to you? Like forming these relationships with other athletes in town?
Yeah, so I've learned this actually through the years. Is like, you know, forming these relationships and the other, you know, aspects of the, you know, other sports is huge, or other, you know, celebrities in, you know, where you are is huge. You know, to bring a little bit of fire, bring a little bit of juice back to the city, and forming this, you know, this bond, you know, between us all, and, you know, in different sports, and showing up and, you know, showing the love. I think it goes a long way. And one, igniting the city, and then two, just, you know, showing support to, you know, other boys out there, or ladies, you know, in the soccer and, you know, basketball with Angel and them over there. So, you know, it's a part of it, and it's a part of the job.
The young guns.
Yeah, and it's
It's
also fun being able to watch, you know, some other guys that are out there balling, and, you know, they're close and they understand it. You know, they're in the same city, they get it. In this, you know, media market, and it's awesome being here. But being able to have people that you can connect with and, you know, relate to, is also cool.
Go crush it this year.
Absolutely.
We appreciate your
Thanks for
time
your
as
time,
always,
as
Caleb.
always.
Yeah, thank y'all.
There he is, Caleb Williams. It's Waddle and Sylvie.